From the waters of Pheasant City to the coast of Angel Grove, there were prototype figures washing away in the tides, hoping to get released in the next wave, but somehow they ended up in the abyss, sleeping with the fishes. Boy, I'm really running out of ideas on how to start these intros. In this Eds Retro Geek Out, we take a look at a couple popular and not so popular characters that made us scratch our heads why these weren't released within the toy line. Be sure to subscribe for more 80s and 90s toy content, and let's drop in for some toy history. Even though they're released by Mattel, a lot of Street Shark sculpts came from the same hands as their Cowabunga competitors did.
Whoa! Where is everybody?
Anaglyph Studios had been on board from day one creating the TMNT villains, and for the Street Sharks line you'd be able to see those outrageous designs come back once again by Scott Hennessy. But lurking in the depths weren't just the sharks. Tying in with the cartoon's main bad guy, Dr. Paradigm, would always have another aquatic anthropomorphic hybrid in the works. A new mutant villain and character that they could stock the store shelves with. Mattel seemed to be more in favor of the more economical way to create the toy line by doing repaints. But don't be fooled, more characters were actually in the works. We've already talked about El Sordo and Clamando in previous episodes, but there's another aquatic oddity they decided to mutate for our playing patterns. Introducing Tentakill. I'm not sure what he's supposed to be, and with not one but two prototypes surfacing, it's hard to tell. Both of the versions got him in colors matching the cartoon, a greenish body with purple head and gruesome details. The figure definitely looks more badass than the cartoon version. He seems to be a fish and seaweed hybrid on the backs of the toy packaging, with a black detail on the sludge or seaweed that is supposed to pass for arms. And he also seems to have a drill that perhaps might be spring-loaded to shoot out, like Reptile's action feature for instance. The Toy Fair catalog had him standing taller and promoted him as the evil man of war jellyfish, with a scorpion-like stinger, and now that I look at it, are his arms supposed to be sea stars? It also seems like the mouth could open up. I especially like all the tiny details they added into the skin texture and the sculpt of these teeth. Now, even without a vast array of extra action figure characters, Street Sharks made a big splash in the toy market during the mid-90s and left quite the impression at 1994's Toy Fair when a young Vin Diesel stole the spotlight in getting toy dealers pumped to place orders for these fantastic toys. But the Jasen performance distracted us from another unproduced prototype. Killamari, well, not the regular version, but the hand puppet or hand shark version. They always kind of remind me of the Boglin hand puppets that Mattel released in the 80s, but these had a different type of rubber and no internal mechanisms for the eyes. Now, these weren't puppets to just scare your sister with, these were actually meant for fighting, and it's nice that you could animate their mouths. And that's perhaps why the Killamari hand puppet didn't get released, as one of the main features of a hand puppet is to be able to move the mouth, which you were not able to do on Killamari. Killamari, on the other hand, has lots of tentacles that you can move around, although not all of them would allow you to pop a finger down in. Slobster had the big claw to work with and was released, so it's unsure why Killamari wasn't just added in. After all, the packaged prototype was all ready to go. Right, Vin?
Rocky Balboa action!
Now, Street Sharks did have its fair run, so why was there no playset? Perhaps they were already looking into Extreme Dinosaurs by then, but there was a hangout playset in the works. 2 levels of urban desert for the Sharks to rip through. Top level had a city street feel, and below you could look up through the fire hydrant like the TMNT sewer playset. It looks a lot like that, actually. Now, it's unsure through only a couple images what all the possibilities or features from this playset were, but it appears that the top floor could be wrecked quite easily and then pop back into place by perhaps a mechanism. You could place the sharks within the storefronts or on top.
Got 'em both!
It's been medieval.
This would have actually made a pretty epic display piece for collectors now, but I guess we'll have to do with Bryce Nublar's epic dioramas. Imagine this having been a playset, that would have been insane. And even Joe Galliani, the Street Sharks co-creator, agrees.
I always like how toy companies present it over at Toy Fair.
Yes.
But what this guy is doing on Instagram,
I've seen his work. Oh yeah, and I could imagine easily that if that kind of talent was available and the internet was around back in those days, that Mattel would have scooped people like that up.
Calamari, I will send you back in time.
Now, Monster Force would probably fall in the category of forgotten 90s toy lines. Originally marketed in 1994 as an extension on the major syndicated TV show from Universal Cartoon Studios, we would see the classic Universal monsters updated for the 90s with gruesome cutting-edge look by none other than Playmates. They even pumped a multi-million-dollar advertising campaign into the line, but all they had to show for it in the end was a 13-episode cartoon and a test wave of figures. Now, don't get me wrong, we did get a Wolfman, a Frankenstein on the good side, and Creature from the Black Lagoon or Dracula on the bad side in this distant future drama. It was supposed to take place in 2020, where 6 college students and their professor have formed the Monster Force, a squad keeping the world safe from Dracula, the Mummy, and their evil legion of criminals known as the Creatures of the Night. Everyone in the squad got cutting-edge weaponry in the form of EMAX or energized monster-armed containment suits. So, in toy form, you'd see Trip Hansen, Lance Magruder, or Doc Reed Crawley, with the monstrously detailed sculptures shining. But guess who wasn't invited to the monster party?
So it's up to us to find the last piece.
Left behind was Shelly Frank, the psychic expert of the Monster Force that came with a collectible ancient city base, and the other main villain, the Mummy Hotep, with terrifying tomb base. So character-wise, they hadn't really planned a big expansion, but of course, toy lines needed that mid-price range vehicle product to stock shelves with as well, and that's what they were hoping to bring the horror with this time around. The hovering attack craft, or sky bike, would strike forth to retake the night, perfectly blending technology with monster fighting skills. It would also have monstrous night glow and a spring-firing monster missile. Also on the menu was Dracula's Cycle, or the Blood Bike. With room for another figure in the sidecar, you'd have Fear all around. The vehicles would stick to the colors of the cartoon show, so they're very colorful. Same thing goes for the Prominence VTOL, or Vertical Takeoff and Landing Vehicle, which has movable wings, retractable laser launcher, detachable monster net, and can hold 4 figures. The last known unproduced toy for this line is the Monster Force Transport Van, where they hadn't decided yet what it would all be able to do. In the toy's mock-up, this supposedly would hold 4 figures and has a lift-up front loader and monster cutter front grille. The Monster Force line never got any further. I guess they tried to make a big splash in a market already flooded with new concepts. And where was this line going to go? All you had was the Universal monsters and the supernatural college students you could probably have repainted. No, in order to make a big splash, you needed bigger monsters. Monsters that required Morphin time and a set of swords to beat them. Now, as far as sales and demand went, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers were the #1 in the mid-90s, and with every episode they got a new monster they could fight off and Bandai of America could turn into toys. Usually these monsters would only last 1 episode, so it's strange that characters like Rita Repulsa never got an action figure in the original line. How were we supposed to recreate the wedding ceremony with Lord Zed, Bandai? Yeah, that was a thing. Another thing Rita is known for is summoning these monsters and being one of the longest running characters on the show, as she keeps popping up till Power Rangers in Space. First portrayed by the late Japanese actress Mashiko Soga from the original stock footage from the Japanese show Power Rangers is based on, and in the movies she's played by Australian actress Julia Cortez. However, a toy was in the works as part of the 5-inch evil aliens that came with an action feature usually. The prototype picture doesn't reveal much except that she would have come with her magic staff and in colors that were true to the live action show. Now, Power Rangers doesn't seem like a line that would scrap toys based on girl characters don't sell well to boys, because they also had 2 girls on the team and even had a different section dedicated to girls' toys in their toy line. Perhaps the toy looked too bland and didn't perform well with the test audiences, although she would have probably been one of the most recognizable characters for fans of the show. And there's a couple more monsters that weren't released.
How do I get rid of the Power Rangers? What? The Power Rangers?
Scorpina, one of the most dangerous minion warriors next to Goldar, who we saw in a couple episodes and could grow into a giant-sized scorpion monster with giant stingers, a claw, and carrying around the crescent-shaped boomerang sword. The giant monster form was up for a toy version, and as we can see here, this diabolical minion would have checked all the character boxes. Then we have Matitas, who was a zombie-like monster summoned by Rita, who has a couple forms. In the show we saw him as a skeletal zombie Barbie with a big ball whip weapon, but the toy favors the powered up version where he has horns and even more armor or whatever that is supposed to be. Mainly yellow and black was used on the toy color wise, where the show had him with a lot more red. Witchblade, not to be confused with the comic book character, was an alien witch summoned by Lord Zed this time in the Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers. He was a funky looking character for sure, and the toy actually looks better than the character on the show or the costume they designed for it. I really like the colors, the checkboard cloak, and the epic weapon arm it comes with. Now most of these toys would be forgotten over time if it weren't for toy fair catalogs and collectors going the extra mile. Special thanks goes out to Bryce Newblar on Instagram and Gavin from Street Sharks Collection on YouTube. For a more in-depth video on the hand puppet prototype, I suggest you go check out his channel. And a big shout out to Kevin Puppetino for introducing me to Joe Galliani and a lot of the guys in the Street Sharks community. Now, which one of these toys do you feel you really missed out on? Please leave it down in the comments below. And if you're down there, then please be sure to subscribe for more 80s and 90s toy history videos. If you'd like to support the channel, then please leave a like, and if you'd like to do more, you can always join the Patreon and get access to our exclusive Discord where we talk toys all the time. I wish you all a jawsome remainder of the day and hope to see you all in the next video. Bye!